He was the kind of person most people didn't notice. Early mornings, late evenings, quiet footsteps in empty hallways. He cleaned offices after everyone else had gone home, emptied trash bins, wiped desks, made sure everything looked perfect for people who would never think about how it got that way. To them, he was just the janitor. To himself, he was something else, entirely someone who was paying attention. His job didn't pay much, but it paid consistently. That mattered. Every month, the same amount came in. Not enough to change his life, but enough to keep it steady. Most of his coworkers spent their money the same way: rent, food, small comforts, maybe a little left for entertainment. He understood that. After long hours of work, people wanted relief. But he started noticing something. No matter how hard people worked, their situation didn't change much. Years passed and they were still in the same place. Same job, same routine, same financial stress. It wasn't about effort. Everyone was putting in effort. It was about what happened after the paycheck came. That thought stayed with him. At first, he didn't act on it. He didn't have extra money, and even if he did, he didn't know what to do with it. Investing sounded complicated, something reserved for people with large amounts of money or special knowledge. It felt distant. Then one day, during his shift, he overheard a conversation. A group of employees were talking about the stock market. Not in a serious, technical way, but casually. They mentioned how money could grow over time, how small amounts could turn into larger ones if given enough time. Most of them treated it like a side topic, something interesting but not urgent. For him, it felt different. The idea that money could grow on its own stayed in his mind long after that conversation ended. He didn't rush into anything. Instead, he started learning quietly. After work, instead of going straight to rest, he spent time reading. Basic concepts first. What investing means, how it works, why it carries risk, and how people approach it. It wasn't easy at the beginning. The language was unfamiliar. Terms didn't make sense. Concepts felt abstract. But he didn't stop. He simplified everything. Instead of trying to understand everything at once, he focused on the core idea. Money invested consistently over time has the potential to grow. That was enough for him to start. The real challenge came next. He didn't have extra money to invest. Every rupee he earned already had a purpose. Rent, food, bills. There wasn't a clear extra portion waiting to be used. So if he wanted to invest, he had to create that space himself. That meant changing how he spent. He didn't make extreme cuts. He didn't remove everything that made life comfortable, but he adjusted small things. Slightly cheaper options, fewer unnecessary purchases, more awareness of where money was going. The amount he saved wasn't large. But it was consistent, and consistency mattered more than size. He opened his first investment account with a small amount. It felt insignificant compared to what others were doing. But to him, it was a starting point. The first few months were uneventful. The numbers went up and down slightly. There was no immediate reward, no sudden growth. It felt slow. That's where many people quit. But he didn't. Because he wasn't expecting quick results. He had already seen what happens when people rely only on effort without growth. He didn't want to repeat that pattern, so he kept investing. Month after month, same habit, same discipline. No shortcuts. Over time, something started to change. Not dramatically at first. Small increases. Then slightly larger ones. The growth wasn't from a single investment. It was from repetition. Each contribution added to the previous one. And then the growth began building on itself. This is where the real shift happens in stories like his, but it often goes unnoticed because it doesn't look exciting. Compounding. At first, it's invisible. Then it becomes noticeable. Then it becomes powerful. Years passed, and his routine didn't change much on the surface. He still worked as a janitor. Still cleaned the same spaces. Still lived a simple life. But underneath that routine, something else was growing. His investments were no longer small. The total had increased enough to make a difference. At this stage, he faced another challenge. Temptation. From the outside, nothing about his life suggested this. People still saw the same janitor, same routine, same quiet presence. They didn't see the years of discipline behind it. The small decisions, the delayed gratification, the patience. Eventually the truth came out. Not because he announced it, but because it became impossible to hide completely. Someone noticed changes. Conversations started. Questions followed. How did you do it? People expected a complex answer, a secret strategy, a special opportunity, but his explanation was simple. He didn't earn a lot, he didn't take extreme risks. He didn't rely on luck, he just stayed consistent. He invested what he could, learned as he went, and gave it time. That was it. No shortcuts. No sudden breakthrough. Just repetition. His story spread, not because it was dramatic, but because it challenged assumptions. People often believe you need a high income to build wealth, or perfect timing, or special knowledge. But his journey showed something different. That starting small isn't a limitation. Stopping is. That consistency matters more than intensity. That time, when used properly, can become the most powerful factor. The janitor didn't stop being humble after his success. He didn't suddenly change his identity. He simply changed his options. Work became a choice, not a requirement, and that's what made the difference. His life didn't transform overnight. It transformed slowly, quietly, in a way that most people wouldn't notice until the results became undeniable. The janitor who was once invisible had built something most people never even start. Not because he had more, but because he used what he had differently. And that difference changed everything.